Hey everyone, Mr. Lavasser with you again, and this is Black History Month, and we've got a series of lessons to celebrate the lives of famous and unsung heroes in the Black community. So today we'll be particularly talking about inventors, people who have that innovative spirit and didn't really receive the credit that they were due for their inventions or for their commitment to the community's lives. So let's start by taking out that assignment, please. And here's the assignment. African American history is American history. Underneath, African American inventors. Our content topic, read about unsung heroes in the African American history. And our language acquisition topics, content vocabulary, language analysis, and the Peel explanation, writing a Peel explanation. Peel is present the idea, explain the idea, give an example of the idea, and then link the idea to other topics in your writing. If you've clicked on this link, you're watching this video. And remember that you can start this video and stop this video as you see fit. If I finish a section of the assignment and you want to pause the video and then finish that part of the assignment, that's great. If you want to watch the video through, that's fine. However you're going to be most successful, that's the way you use this video as part of it. This video may be linked into your Nearpod as the assignment is, or perhaps it's just a link on your PDF or Word version of this assignment. The learning objectives. I can define an unsung hero as a person who has done great and important things but has not received the proper recognition. I can analyze social studies texts for field, participants and ideas, processes and actions, properties, characteristics, and the circumstance. And C, I can explain the meaning of the idiom, necessity is the mother of invention. So this section here, little known unsung African American heroes, is a video, and that's where I saw these three people, and that's how I made this lesson about them. You might want to pause the video and watch that, pause the video that we're watching right now, and then click here on your assignment and watch that. I think it's about a 2-minute video. Okay, so section 2. Build your field of knowledge about little-known unsung African American heroes who showed that necessity is the mother of invention. A necessity is something that you must have. Idioms are examples of figurative language because idiomatic phrases or sayings have an accepted meaning different than the actual words and meanings. So necessity is the mother of invention is a form of an idiom because necessity, things that you really need, don't really give birth to inventions. So that's a form of figurative language. It's not literal, it's not actually true. And there's a lot of idiomatic speech in English. For example, it's raining cats and dogs, or one of my favorites is watch your head. Can you imagine someone who doesn't speak English trying to understand what you're saying when you say watch your head? It's impossible to watch your head, yet we say that to mean be careful. And so necessity is the mother of invention. If you really need something and it isn't available, you have to make it. You have to invent it. So that's the meaning of that phrase. And I think that all three of these people that we'll talk about today have lived that out. And here are the three pictures of the people that we'll be reading about today: Leda Newman, Alexander Miles, and Sarah Boone. So this is the side box here. Unsung heroes. Unsung heroes are people who have done great and important things, but have not received the proper credit or recognition for their accomplishments. This lesson discusses 3 African Americans who have neither been given enough recognition for their ingenuity or for their commitment to improving Black Americans' lives. Okay, section 3. And before I go on and start section 3, I'm going to give you an overview of the whole paper, the whole assignment. So in section 3, there are 3 paragraphs, one about Lena Newman, another one about Alexander Miles, and a third about Sarah Boone. And we're going to read them, and we're going to highlight for the parts of the text that make up the field. And the field is the ideas, the storyline, the what's happening. Who did what to whom is answered by the field. So what makes up the field? 4 things: the participants, the people, the events, the ideas. 2, the processes, which are the actions. The next would be the properties or characteristics, the descriptions. And then the 4th part of the field is the circumstances. And the circumstances tell you where things happen, when things happen, or how things happen. So those are the 4 parts of the field. And so those are the 4 things we're going to look for when we analyze this text. And I'm going to do the highlighting for the first section for you. And then I'm going to leave paragraphs 2 and 3 for you to highlight. Then we have a paragraph to write. And this is a 4-sentence paragraph. This is a 4-sentence paragraph, and it's going to follow the Peel pattern. And Peel is present the idea, sentence 1, explain or define the idea, sentence 2, give an example of the idea, sentence 3, and then link the idea to all the ideas or to something else in your writing, and that's sentence 4. And I've written the first sentence for you already in this one. So ultimately, you're just going to be writing 3 sentences. And after that, we have 7 words to define. And we're not going to use Google or the dictionary to define these words. We are going to use textual evidence. So I want you to define these words based on things that are written in this assignment. And what are the words? Idiom, necessity, suffragette, entrepreneur, patent, and ingenuity. So in this reading, in this paper, you will find the definition of those terms, and I don't want you to use your Google or your dictionary. I want you to use how they were used or how they were written. One thing that you got to notice in this type of writing, which is factual writing, science writing, social studies writing, when they introduce a new word, they will often define it for you. So if you get a new word, then usually following that, there is a definition. Present, explain, example, link. So that's what you want to start looking for, and we'll see it in this paragraph and in the other paragraphs. So right now, I'm going to read the instructions for section 3. Instructions: read and highlight using functional language analysis, and here's your analysis key right here. Here are 3 short biographical sketches of 3 unsung heroes in African American history. So we're going to highlight the processes with pink, the participants with yellow, the descriptions or properties with blue, and the circumstances of where and when with orange. So I right now am going to go and I'm going to start with pink. I'm going to start with pink, which are the action words. And I guess I didn't start with pink. There we go. So I'm going to start with the action words, with the processes. And the types of words, the name of the kind of words called verbs. You probably know that. What do verbs do? They show actions and process. So that's what we're looking for here. Lydia Newman was born in Ohio, but spent most of her life living in New York City. Lida was a hairdresser by trade. Early in her career, she realized that the hairbrushes which were available did not meet her needs. So she invented a new type of hairbrush. This new hairbrush put bristles in groups and the groups of bristles into rows. In addition to being an inventor, Lida Newman was a dedicated suffragette. Suffragettes were women who fought for women's legal right to vote. Newman organized women in the Black community of New York for the Women's Suffragette Party. So I think we've gotten a good sense of the action words that are here. And let's move on to participants. Okay, for some reason. Okay, let's go with the other kind of highlighter. Lida Newman. There we go. Lida Newman was born in Ohio. Most of her, but spent most of her life living in New York City. And that should have been a verb. New York City is a place, so that is part of a participant. Lida was a hairdresser by trade. Early in her career, she realized that the hairbrushes which were available did not meet her needs, so she invented a new type of hairbrush. This new hairbrush put bristles in groups and groups of bristles into rows. In addition to being an inventor, Lida Newman was a dedicated suffragette. Suffragettes were women who fought for women's legal right to vote. And I'm going to say the right to vote is one thing, even though it's three words. Newman organized women in the Black community, I'm going to say that that's one thing, of New York, for the World Suffragette Party, or for the Women's Suffragette Party. So now I think we've got a good sense of the action words and the participants, the processes and the participants. Let's move on to find any descriptions or adjectives, or the type of words or adjectives. The job is description or characteristics. Lida Newman was born in Ohio, but spent most of her life, whose life? Her life, in New York. As a hairdresser by trade, early in her career, she realized that the hairbrushes which were available did not meet her needs, so she invented a new type of hairbrush. What type? A new type, describes the type. This new hairbrush put bristles in groups and the groups of bristles into rows. In addition to being an inventor, an innovator, Lida Newman was a dedicated suffragette. What kind of suffragette? What were the qualities of her suffragette? She was a dedicated. What was her characteristic? She was dedicated. Suffragettes were women who fought for women's legal right. What kind of a right? A legal right. Okay. And let's do the places of where or when, where or when things happen with orange. Lida Newman was born in Ohio. That tells you where, but she spent most of her life in New York City. That tells you where. in Ohio, in New York City. She was early in her career. When? Early in her career. It put the bristles in groups and the groups into rows, in addition to being an innovator. Leda Newman was a dedicated suffragette. Suffragettes were women who fought for women's right to vote in the Black community. So now we've got a sense of who and what. And we also have a sense of the action. We have a sense of the descriptions of the participants. So we have more insights into them, and we also now know when things happened and where things happened. And that, my friends, is the field of a text. And what you get the field, you're beginning to get the meaning. There's another part which is the tenor. The tenor is the emotions that come out of things, or the feel of something, or the interpersonal relationships. But that's another lesson. So I want you to highlight the paragraph on Alexander Miles and Sarah Boone, just like I did for Leda Newman. I'm going to read these two sections to you, though. Alexander Miles invented and patented a system to make elevator doors open and close safely and automatically. Miles was a barber by trade, but he is remembered as an inventor and entrepreneur. An entrepreneur is someone who creates, organizes, and operates a business. In addition to running a barbershop, Miles was a real estate investor and developer who made a 3-story apartment house. In the late 1800s and early 1900s, elevators were not safe, and Miles' daughter fell into an elevator shaft and was severely injured. He recognized that elevator doors needed to be made safer for everyone. Therefore, he began working to invent an automatic elevator door opener and closer. Alexander Miles also invented hair care products. In addition, he started a business offering life insurance to African Americans, because at that time, insurance companies discriminated against Blacks by overcharging them for insurance. At the time of his death in 1905, Alexander Miles was considered the wealthiest African American living in the Midwestern states. Sarah Boone. Sarah Boone was the first African American woman to receive a patent from the U.S. government. A patent is a government-issued license to be the sole producer of an invention. Boone's invention was the folding ironing board still used today. Sarah Boone was a dressmaker in Connecticut and needed a more convenient way to iron the sleeves of women's dresses. Boone was born into slavery in 1832. She married a free Black man and obtained her freedom. Sarah Boone, her husband, and children, along with her mother, used the Underground Railroad to move from North Carolina to Connecticut. Although they were not slaves, they needed to use the Underground Railroad to keep from being kidnapped and forced back into slavery. Everyone who ever used the Underground Railroad or aided people's escape from slavery is an unsung hero. And before I move on to the next section, I want to point out that present the idea, then explain or define the idea to you. So for example, here the idea of being a suffragette, she was a dedicated suffragette. So that's a new term. And what follows the introduction of that new term is the definition. So a new term, suffragette, followed by the definition of suffragette. Present, explain. And you should have seen that here with Alexander Miles as well. He was a real estate developer, inventor, and an entrepreneur. Well, what's an entrepreneur? An entrepreneur is someone So introduce the idea, then follow the new idea with a definition. And you'll notice that that also happened in Sarah Boone's, and I'll leave you the story, and I'll leave you to find that. So, section 4, introduction. Complete a 4-sentence paragraph using the Peel pattern. The pattern is Peel. 1, present the idea. 2, explain. 3, give an example. 4, link. The paragraph needs to have at least 4 sentences. Present or introduce the idea, explain or define the idiom, provide an example of the idiom, link the idiom to Leda Newman, Miles Alexander, and Sarah Boone. Sentence 1 is already written for you. You need 3 more. So here's the writing prompt. Explain the meaning of the idiom, necessity is the mother of invention.